Hello and welcome back to your only Accies preview of this weekend's game against Dunfermline. Brandon, before that, let's look back at the game against Kilmarnock. 2-0 defeat, and it's been the first time I would say in a while where we really just were not at it. I thought we were awful, if we're not mincing words. Killie, by far the better side. We just never got started. And I think part of that's down to credit to Kilmarnock. They were the better side. But I think part of it is down to us as well. I think we were so poor. And as we mentioned in our preview before that game, is the way we set up didn't obviously help because we knew the way the game was going to go.
It's one of the worst performances of the season, I think, without doubt. If you read all the comments on the sort of Kilmarnock side of things, Kilmarnock fans telling us the one thing they've always seen with Accies is teams that sort of dig in, fight, sort of never give up attitude. And that's one of the worst teams that they've actually seen play against them for a very long time. So it was frustrating, extremely frustrating. We just didn't, in my opinion, it was definitely up there with one of the worst performances of the season. We can say I credit to Killie where it's due. I think if Killie were even at the races remotely, they would have absolutely hammered us because we just weren't there at all. I think Ryan's came out and says, well, Kilmarnock made it hard for us. Kilmarnock didn't make it hard for us. We made it hard for ourselves because we just didn't appear. I wouldn't have thought we would have been that poor, but I did see the performance and result panning out. I got the result correct, and I saw it panning out that way. I think we were due a defeat. It's quite worrying because we go into this game on the back of now 1 in 8 games, which just isn't good enough. When you're having performances like that against a team that's not even threatening you, you really need to think about what's going to come next, because we're going into a game now against a team that's fighting for their lives like we are, and we certainly need to be up for a fight, and we didn't get much hope or even a glimpse of any sort of fight in the Kilmarnock game.
Yeah, something I mentioned in the match reaction afterwards was what I was really frustrated by was just the lack of adaptability, because we knew the setup, we knew he wasn't going to change the setup going into it, and we knew that the setup wasn't going to work. And so I honestly thought that it would get to a point where it was so clear that it wasn't working, that for the second half, we're only 1-0 down. It's not as if we're out of the game at all. But I honestly thought he would maybe try something different, try changing the shape up a wee bit. And that's what frustrated more, was the lack of adaptability. It's not just in that game. It's been in a lot of games this season. And of course, with that loss, it then dropped, and other results obviously not going our way either, it drops us down into 8th place. And as you said, the two teams below us, Queen of the South, they're on a much better run. Queen of the South, they're starting to pick up results. Dunfermline, as you said, are fighting for their lives. There is still a little bit of a gap between us and the bottom two, but as you said, it doesn't mean we're out the fight. We're definitely right in the middle of it. Before we talk about Dunfermline, though, after the game against Kilmarnock on Sunday night, we actually did our first ever Only Accies Twitter Spaces. So if you were there for that, thank you very much for coming along. It was great to speak to a lot of you and get your opinions, some more sensible than others, shall we say. But it was really good to chat to a lot of you, and hopefully we'll be doing that more in the future.
No, it's sort of reminiscent slightly of back in the lockdown days when we obviously done our match reactions and we had sort of different people on. Having that platform, it does give us a variety of opinions, and hopefully it's something that we can keep going and we get more fans each week, because it's like there's not many channels for ourselves or other people to voice their opinion. Social media is the only really option we've got. So having that sort of platform where all Accies fans can be together and listen in and sort of let everybody have their opinion, let everybody discuss what's went on, and it just gives everybody a voice, really, and it sort of expands your knowledge as well, because you get to hear what other people's opinions are rather than just sort of reading them on social media. So no, it went well. Obviously, our first time doing it, so there might have been a few hiccups for myself or whatnot, but no, I thought it went well, and I will just keep it going, and hopefully we see more people tune in each week.
Absolutely. So look out for that. It looks like we're going to be doing it kind of every Sunday night whenever possible. So look out for that on social media. Brandon, let's now look ahead to Dunfermline. We've mentioned them already, fighting for their lives. Down the bottom, Yogi hasn't seemed to really have turned anything around there. We thought he might at some point. And as you said, results aren't going our way either. So we're now down in that fight. We know what Yogi Hughes' team is going to be like. They are going to make it difficult for us. It's not going to be an easy rollover by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I do think we'll win this one. I do think we'll win this one, but I think it will be a fight. You know what Accies are like. I think once we get fighting, we're pretty hard to stop a lot of the time. So I would like to think that we would go into this with fight, and I think we'll win it.
Every game has been brutal. I think the game that we won because of how bad Dunfermline were. It was nothing really to do with how good we were. And my Dunfermline were voting it. But yeah, we're up against a team that we really should be beating. They're below us for a reason. And if we don't win, we're in deep trouble. If we win, it creates a bit more of a gap that we really need to create, because I think I said this during the week, but we're in the top flight for 7 years there, and we've dropped down a league, and what we're thinking is, all right, maybe it was time to drop down a league. We were losing every week, we were feeling down, we were getting the feel, everything was doom and gloom. So maybe going down, winning more games, we'll feel better. We're in the exact same position. We're having to look at other teams' results to hopefully benefit us, which when we got relegated, I don't think that was in MD's mind would be the case. So we really need to win this game, and I really do hope that he changes it up. He said it's not good enough. The setup in the system's not good enough, in my opinion. Simple as that. The stats show that it's not good enough, and I do really think that, as I've said many a time, the one up top clearly isn't working, regardless of which striker it is. They're isolated, and we're not getting the results playing that setup. We really need to change it. 27 games under Taylor, not including the B teams. We've had 7 wins, 9 draws, 11 defeats. We've scored 27, conceded 40. We've scored 0 in 9 games, 1 in 10 games, 2 goals in 7 games, and only scored 3 in 1 match. 21 out of the 27 games we've played have either been decided by a draw or decided by 1 goal, which shows how small margins there are. So apart from 6 games, it's either been 1 goal or a draw. Under Taylor, we've had 1 up front in 24 out of 27 games. Ryan's been up front himself 11 games. Moyle's been up front himself in 13. Ryan up front himself has scored 2 goals. Moyle scored 4 goals. We're not scoring enough goals, clearly. There's not a lot of margins in the games. The 3 games in which we didn't have 1 up top, we're undefeated in. 2 of our arguably our best performances. It's clear as day to me, with the lack of goals we've scored, we're not blessed with brilliant strikers, don't get me wrong. So they need as much support as they can. And we're playing this system that's having them isolated up top themselves. And it makes it so easy to criticise the strikers. I'm not saying that the strikers, we should have a better level of striker for where we were and where we're at now. We should have a better level of striker, but we're giving them no chance by playing them up top themselves. It's clear as day with the stats that it's no working. They don't change it in the game either. The game management's extremely poor. It's not as if it's no working in the game. We're chasing the game. Let's adapt it and go for it. I can't remember a game where we've adapted a game and changes our setup, especially as of recently, when we're chasing our tail, or even when we're drawing and we think, right, we can win this game. It's just like for like subs. It's getting to the stage now that we need to win games. We need to have a go at teams, and we've got players capable of having a go at teams. I just think we're putting ourselves on the back foot for the minute the game starts, because we're setting up in that manner. Teams know what we're going to do. The stats don't lie. We should be doing better, and we're not. And I think it's down to the system. There was a boy on that Twitter Spaces. I'm not going to say Jamie Hamilton up top, but there was a boy who said that. But that was I was surprised by that.
I was surprised.
But a boy did go with the sort of 3-5-2, or the whatever you want to call it, 5-3-2 with the 2 wing backs, which I'm completely there for. There's a lot of people on Twitter saying, look at Rice played, etc., and it didn't work. I get that. That was against better opposition. I just feel the standard of this league, there's not many teams, there's not much between each team. The stats have shown that the 3 games that we've played 2 up top, we've not been beat with. I'm not saying necessarily go for a 4-4-2. I'm not saying go for a 3-5-2. I just think the setup which they're playing now with the 1 up top isn't working. So, as the boy in that Twitter Spaces said, I think the 3-5-2, with using the 2 wing backs, that will utilise Keane McDonald. Keane McDonald will hopefully play at a better standard than what he has of recently, because I feel that he's not getting the opportunity to go forward as much as he can, and that's when he's probably at his best game, when he's going forward He is a good defender, but he is good at going forward with the ball in the box. But that's useless if you've not got MD up top, because you've only got one person up top front, isolated himself.
We have to remember that the comment about Rice kind of irks me every time someone brings that up, because Rice, yes, played a 3-5-2 or whatever you want to call it, a 5, whatever. But he played it as a very defensive formation. It was 5 along the back, and then most times he played Ben Sterling in front, so it was 6 or 7 defenders at a time. Stuart Taylor won't do that if this is the formation he goes for. It will be 2 high attacking fullbacks, because we know how much he likes to get the ball out wide. So it's not going to be as defensive as it was under Rice. It's less likely to be a 5-3-2 that it was under Rice, and it's more likely to be
3-5-2
5-2 under Stuart Taylor. So no, listen, I thought that boy that came on the Twitter, I wish I remember your name, mate, sorry. I thought what he said was really, really good, and we all agreed with it kind of at the time, that, as you've just said, it's something that we would be interested in.
I think if players are fit, I think the way in which he positioned it, I think he said Keelan McDonald left wing back, Jamie Hamilton, Popescu and O'Reilly centre back, with Lawson right wing back, with Scott Martin and Spence centre defensive mids, with Josh Mullen in front of them, with then Ryan and Moyle up top.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's how he positioned it. You can tweak that ever so slightly. If, for instance, Scott Martin isn't fully fit still, and we still can't afford to play him for the start, you bring Mullen back a bit, and then you put someone else in that sort of more attacking role, or even put Regan Mimno in the defensive role beside Spence. But the big difference with setting up in that manner is you've got the 2 wing backs going forward for you, whilst also having 3 in midfield, and even more important, 2 up top. The way we're playing just now, we've got the 4 at the back, then we've got that 3 in midfield, and then it's more, in my opinion, it's more like it's a 4-5-1 that we're playing now, because the wingers are getting nowhere near David Moore. And because we're playing in that manner, they're not able to sort of play at the level they should be. So even Kennedy could come in there in front of the sort of 2 centre mids as well. But I just think that we need to have a go at teams. We're not in a position where we can just continue with draws and getting points here or there, because we've went over a game period there. We've got 1-1 and 8, but we've came out of it with Taylor, etc., saying, oh, we're on a good run. That is not a good run. A team being in the top flight for 7 years, coming down, but then, yes, we might have been undefeated in 5 games, but the other stats, when you flip it on the head, shows that we've only won 1 and 8. So that is not a good one at all, regardless of the games you're unbeaten. 1-1 and 8 is not good enough, and we need to change it come Saturday. Saturday's a huge game, and I hopefully there's a fairly decent crowd there. Yep. And I think you've done a bit of advertising. I've sort of tried to do a bit of advertising. We just need a good crowd there to get behind the players, because they ultimately need it, and they'll need as much support as they can. And hopefully we get the win, and we'll see what happens Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, as we finish up, let's get the score predictions just to tie this up.
Do you know, I'm really looking forward to it, which is weird.
Rare.
Which is very bizarre, but I've got a very, very bad feeling.
All right.
I've got a really bad feeling. I'm looking forward to it. If we win it, then we create a big gap that we need, because we've obviously shown that win-wise we've not won that many, and it's getting to that stage where we need the win. Simple as that. You can say, oh, every point matters, wins matter, in my opinion, then we need to sort of change it. If we change the setup, which I'm not very confident we will, I think we need to, and I think I could have done a full podcast with going in depth with the stats to show how we should have. I think I've talked enough about why we should have in that wee segment there, but we need to change it. If we change it, we'll win. I don't think we'll change it, and I think we'll get beat 1-0. All
right. My prediction, is actually the flip of that. I think we're going to win 1-0. And that does not mean, by the way, that I'm very confident, because I'm not. I'm very much in the same boat as yours. I think that we need to change the system. And if we do, we've got a much, much better chance of winning it. I think if we don't, go back in the team, because I feel like Dunfermline are on such a poor run now, and really struggling under Yogi Hughes. The fans are starting to get in the back of them as well. And I feel like as soon as they come under any pressure in this game, the fans are going to get in the back of them even more. And that pressure is going to start mounting up. I do think that even if we don't change the system, we'll have enough to beat Dunfermline. But because I'm predicting a win does not mean I'm very confident ahead of it. So you've heard our score predictions. As always, once you put the tweet up on match day, you can comment on it and get your score predictions for our league table. It is actually quite tight. I've been kind of tallying up as the week's going, and there's 3 or 4 fans that are quite close to get at the top of the table. So I think it'll be very interesting going to the end of the season. Thank you, as always, for watching, and we will see you after the game.